And, it comes out that every major juvenile justice facility, including the CPS facilities, it's the same in Michigan, California, Florida. I mean, you see it everywhere. The same story. It's all federally run, all federally financed, all federal guidelines. Where they steal so many children, folks. They warehouse them and make little, 2-year-old babies live in drawers at CPS bureaucratic facilities with snot all over them. They die and they just take little dead bodies and, say, oh, the parents, did this to them, even though they'd had the kid for 2 weeks, in the facility, not even feeding them, and they die. And then they go indict the parents after they kill them. And it turned out the Texas Youth Commission, en masse, was openly raping children and videotaping it, and that the parking lots were filled with judges and police and local pedophile rings that run most cities. Literally, it's a pedophile guild that runs everything. People talk about it's this group, it's that group. I'll tell you, it's a bunch of devil-worshiping pedophiles. You want to know who runs things? That's who runs things. Devil worshippers. They like to sacrifice kids. What is that? It's the ultimate expression of attacking innocence, of being ruthless, of trying to burn out their souls, trying to prove how ruthless they are. And then I saw it in the news that they don't even mention the fact that they've set up a new state agency for child welfare, and that they supposedly set it up to counter what was going on in the state already. But then they took all the new funding that the legislature just funded, and they're saying they're going to put out task forces to steal more innocent people's children. See, that's back when CNN was reporting on that in Florida. I said, you watch, folks. They're going to come out and say we need more funding to stop what's happening with the abuse of children at government hands. And that's what they did. And then I had that article here in my stack. Oh, it doesn't matter. It's all over Texas News about, guys, just do a search on me about new state agency for child welfare in Texas. Just give me that. I had it here in the stack, and now it's not here. So I wanted to, nothing about why they set up the agency. Nothing about the Texas Youth Commission and all the horrible things it did. It's all about how American and Texas parents are bad, and the state's got to go out and grab their children, when the state's 5 times more likely, in the Justice Department's own numbers, to abuse children than any other group. Again, the state is evil. The state is corrupt. The state has been fully taken over by criminals and degenerate scum at the higher levels. And now they're taking over the mid and low levels and getting all their people in place and telling us torture and secret arrest is good to sell everybody on a full-bore terror, a red terror in America. Look at this one. I want to show people this photo of tyranny before I get into the child kidnapping rings run by the government. Where is that in my stack? I just had that. Oh, here it is. NAU precursor, EU police subdue sovereignty protesters. Peaceful protesters in Serbia are being forced off their land. I'm not taking sides here. I'm not, Serbian, folks. I'm not Croatian. I'm not Muslim. I don't have a dog in the fight. I've watched what's happened. And they're peacefully with flags, so they were tear gassed and rubber bulleted by NATO police saying no protest allowed. I want to show people these photos. This is up on prisonplanet.com. NAU precursor, EU police subdue sovereignty protesters. Just amazing. To have that right there. Okay, let me get into this. I'm not going to spend all day on this, but I'm going to play the Cynthia McKinney clip. It's a long clip about trillions missing, and they say, we won't say where the money is. Dr. Chu won't tell you, Rumsfeld says, and the head of the guy that ran the Northcom stuff on 9/11, General Myers, is in there whitewashing and sucking on breath mints neurotically. It's all a big joke to him. And this is why they went after McKinney and put all that money against her to get her out of there, because she'd ask real questions. But it's not just McKinney saying this. I have BBC, AP, Chicago Tribune. Where DynCorp, Halliburton, all of them are caught running giant child kidnapping rings. And one day I saw cops out front of the DynCorp building here in Austin. I walked up and I said, that's DynCorp. They run child kidnapping rings. And they laughed at me and said, oh, I know, I'll work in that building sometimes. I'm like, they're all smiling. See, it's mental illness, folks. The whole country's evil. I'm telling you right now. We got to admit we've turned into a bunch of demons. This is just going to get worse. But every time we talk about, Obama says he's going to release hundreds of new photos. And you watch, it'll be people in clown outfits or people naked with dogs biting them. sounds bad, or a dead body or something. But they admit Congress has seen hundreds of videos, thousands of photos of them raping children, snuff films, you name it, under CIA orders, torturing people, torturing their children, things I can't mention on air. This man, General Tagumba, he's an American citizen, Filipino-American general, 3-star general. He was sent to do the report. He did a real report. And then General Tagumba got basically threatened as Ray McGovern's talked to him and talked about it. I need to get the general on sometime, but it's been hard to get him on, about how they threatened him. He said, well, this is the report. This is what happened. And because he said he couldn't be part of it. They were raping children with battery acid and just stuff out of Hellraiser, stuff out of Hostel. I haven't seen that movie, but I've heard it described. I mean, stuff worse than the worst Hollywood stuff you can imagine. And it says the general's report how Antonio Tagumba, who investigated Abu Ghraib scandal, became one of its casualties. And they came after him. And they killed a bunch of people, too, in the military. Videos amplify pictures of violence. The raw story, Seymour Hersh reveals shocking new details of Abu Ghraib. Father, son forced to do acts together. Evidence for Hersh's claims of child sexual abuse at Abu Ghraib. You can just Google Cy Hersh, boys sodomized. You'll get AP, Reuters. Look, people keep emailing me saying this couldn't be true. I understand you committed to the neocons and committed to evil. And then because you did commit to evil, you feel like you've signed on to, yeah, let's get rough and waterboard them. It's, you know, there's a clip up on Front Page Magazine, one of the neocon sites, where it's got this Marine Corps officer going, I love electrocuting people. I love all of it. I love torture. Oh, it's so good. And they're all giggling. And well, I mean, once you decide to torture people, why not rape children? And that's what they do. And then we're the bad people who don't want to have the government raping children. So here's Cynthia McKinney bringing all this up. And Rumsfeld we put them in a penalty box. DynCorp didn't get contracts for a few months. They're allowed to do it. Look, bitch, we got SWAT teams standing by to kill you. Yeah. Woo. I mean, that's basically the attitude. And I'm sorry to talk like that, but I'm trying to bring this home. This is pure evil right out in the open. Joseph Mengele stuff, and it's just Myers and Rumsfeld, and they're just and just like they released the Abu Ghraib whitewashes when the raping was coming out from the Army reports, they put out stuff so Limbaugh got on air and said, they're just blowing off steam. They're just having some fun. Here it is.
I thank the gentleman, the gentlelady from Georgia, Ms. McKinney.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, I watched President Bush deliver a moving speech at the United Nations in September 2003, in which he mentioned the crisis of the sex trade. The president called for the punishment of those involved in this horrible business. But at the very moment of that speech, DynCorp was exposed for having been involved in the buying and selling of young women and children. While all of this was going on, DynCorp kept the Pentagon contract to administer the smallpox and anthrax vaccines and is now working on a plague vaccine through the Joint Vaccine Acquisition Program. Mr. Secretary, is it policy of the U.S. government to reward companies that traffic in women and little girls? That's my first question. My second question, Mr. Secretary, according to the Comptroller General of the United States, there are serious financial management problems at the Pentagon, to which Mr. Cooper alluded. Fiscal year 1999, $2.3 trillion missing. Fiscal year 2000, $1.1 trillion missing. And DOD is the #1 reason why the government can't balance its checkbook. The Pentagon has claimed year after year that the reason it can't account for the money is because its computers don't communicate with each other. My second question, Mr. Secretary, is who has the contracts today to make those systems communicate with each other? How long have they had those contracts? And how much have the taxpayers paid for them? Finally, Mr. Secretary, after the last hearing, I thought that my office was promised a written response to my question regarding the 4 war games on September 11th. I have not yet received that response, but would like for you to respond to the questions that I've put to you today, and then I do expect the written response to my previous question, hopefully by the end of the week.
Thank you, Representative. First, The answer to your first question is no, absolutely not. The policy of the United States government is clear, unambiguous, and opposed to the activities that you described.